Rorik sits in the nameless chapel. The rain continues its relentless pour upon the landscape and has even managed to infiltrate gaps in the roof. The worst, however, seems to be over. It's almost as if the rain will clear up at any moment and provide some much-needed relief to the land. It seems like a distant dream, a hope, a prayer. It's on the horizon, but not quite here just yet. As the rain continues to pelt against the nameless chapel, Rorik thinks about his most recent journey into Deepfall Breach. The ferryman called to mind a memory that had almost been long forgotten. It was a precious memory of his sister, Jaina. He was supposed to protect her, as all brothers are oft to do, but in the end, he let them take her away. In the early days of their childhood, Jaina showed great promise in handling magic. The family tried to hide it, but such a thing is very hard to do. Eventually, the Grand Court of Mages found out about her ability and came for her, as they do all children who show an aptitude for magic. The family was forced to watch them take her away back to their tall towers of silver and gold, knowing that they would never see her again. Rorik couldn't get the memory out of his head. Why had that memory come to haunt him now? What purpose did it serve for him to remember his long-lost sister? Ingolfer stirred. The wolfkin looked haggard and older in the time Rorik had been gone. Their journey was coming to an end too. Rorik could feel it. He knew that when he left this decrepit chapel, he would never see Ingolfer again. Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and welcome to A Table for One, a solo role-playing podcast where I play through various RPG games solo style. And of course, I am playing through Dragonbane alone in Deepfall Breach, and this is the finale. Rorik has gone through several different quests for Ingolfer Stonegaze, and it is all culminating in this final episode. But fear not, fellow viewers or listeners, because this is not the end of the overall Dragonbane campaign. For you see, this is a prequel of sorts. Rorik is here in this strange place that he has come to know as Deepfall Breach, in a lone chapel, I believe it is, in this lone chapel that he has come to meet Ingolfer, and, well, things just might not be what they appear. But that's probably going to be a story for another time. Today, though, we are going to attempt to reforge the Worldbreaker. And this is a sword of some sort that Ingolfer has kind of hinted at the very beginning of this solo campaign. And, well, Rorik is either going to be successful or not. And hope he is successful, because this Worldbreaker is actually a pretty sweet sword that does quite a bit of stuff, which we'll go over if Rorik should be able to reforge it. Let us go on ahead and take a look at the place where we are going and the threat.
We must reforge the Worldbreaker anew, into a weapon of light. It shall be cast in the fires of the breach and quenched in the blood of the soul tree. Orcs of Maladuk have an outpost in the molten wastes. There dwells Gorum, who serves his clan as a talented weaponsmith. Seek his aid, and ye shall wield a mighty weapon against demon kind. Demon cultists hunger to recover the shard, wielding magic and cunning to hunt you down.
So it's nice to see that Gorum is making a return, because in the very first episode, we actually rescued Gorum from the cultists, and we brought him back, and he kind of spun this tale about the Worldbreaker and where to go, or where to find the cultists, and we actually managed to reclaim the shard because of that information. So I would imagine that we have Gorum on our good side. The other thing is that the demon cultists are out hunting for blood, and they are after Rorik's blood, and they are hunting him down to reclaim the Worldbreaker shard. So we have that going for us. Without further ado, let's go ahead and see just exactly where it is that Rorik is going to first.
Great iron rungs plunged into the stone of the breach serve ye as a descent into the depths. I see the chittering shadow of many limbs and eyes hungering for prey. Climb quickly to avoid the spider's hunt.
All right, so we are immediately climbing down these, I would imagine, humongous iron rings. It seems like these iron rungs that are just kind of dangling down. So maybe some giant has used these to climb up or something like that, or maybe chain a chomp to the side of the cliff or something like that. I don't know. But Rorik is climbing down, and I think the first thing that we're going to try to do is to see if we can maneuver our way safely down the iron rung. And for this one, I'm going to use a strength attribute test just to see if he can hold on, or rather safely navigate his way down. So it's our first roll of the session. I believe in the last session we rolled a straight up demon as our first roll, so hopefully things are going to be better for Rorik. How is our session going to go? Dice foretell the future. And that is a 9. That beats our 13, so he manages to slowly make his way down the iron ring. And there's quite a few of them because it's going to be a rather large cliff that he's climbing down. And so the second thing that we need to do is, well, it says that there's going to be some sort of spider creature down here as well. So how are we going to make sure that we do not encounter that? The only thing that I can really think of is some sort of a sneak roll, but also I'm not sure entirely that is going to be very viable here because it's already known that we're climbing down. So what else can we do? How can we make this interesting? We're going to go ahead and set up a yes/no oracle question. And the thing that I'm going to ask is Rorik noticed? This is going to take the place of a sneak roll because I don't really find the sneak roll to be applicable here as we're climbing down. It's a rather, do the spiders actually notice him climbing down? And we've already established that he's able to successfully navigate his way down safely. So, will the spiders actually notice him? So let's go ahead and take our d6 and we'll roll for that. Yes/no oracle question. Do the spiders notice Rorik? That is going to be a yes, but not an extreme yes, mind you. So just a regular yes, and I'm very thankful for that because I don't really want to deal with more than one spider. So because this is just a single yes, or a simple yes, I say that we're just going to encounter one spider here. Let's go ahead and pop open the core rulebook and see what stats the spider has. I remember seeing something about a spider here. Already this thing is very frightening. It's got Ferocious 2, so it is going to draw 2 initiative cards to begin with. And it has 36 HP. That is a lot. Also, this is considered a monster, so we will be rolling a d6 to determine what kind of an attack it's going to do upon Rorik. And remember, Rorik doesn't have the ability to successfully parry monsters just yet, or rather monsters that roll on the monster attack chart. So he's going to be taking some hits here. The question is he going to stand and fight? The spiders notice him and he manages to get down to the bottom of this ravine, this cliff, and there's just solid ground. But the spider is coming after him, coming down the side of the cliff. So what is he going to do? Well, I think the first thing that we have to do is go ahead and draw our initiative cards. So I always draw for Rorik twice, and so he has a 10, of course. That's going dead last. And he also has a 4. So we do stand a chance of going first, and we really want to. We have a 9 for the spider and a 3. So spider is going to go first, and then Rorik is going to go second. Okay, so the spider has movement of 24. So the spider is definitely going to be able to climb down all the way, and he is going to do something. But what is he going to do? Well, we're going to have to roll on the monster attack chart to see what it's going to do. But I believe since Rorik knew that the spider was coming, he heard the little clittering cladding going down the chain or the side of the cliff, and he looked up and he immediately pulled out his sword and his shield to get ready. And so let us see, what is the spider going to do? That is a 1. Mandibles! Exclamation mark. Well, actually, they all have exclamation mark because this thing is deadly. The spider's serrated mandibles swish through the air like scimitars. This attack inflicts 2d8 slashing damage. Are you kidding me? That is horrifying. So, 1d8. We're going to roll this one twice. That's 4. That's going to be negated by our armor, and 6. So we're taking 6 points as the mandibles just kind of tear into Rorik's flesh. That's not good. That is not good at all. But it is Rorik's turn, and so what is he going to do? I think the only thing that we are going to be interested in doing is getting out of there. Since we're at the bottom of this chasm, it only makes sense that the entrance to where he is going to be nearby, preferably at the bottom of the chain. And so we are going to go ahead and just use our entire turn to dash on to the entrance where we're going. So he took quite a bit of damage, and I think that's a natural consequence for this scenario, and he is just going to run and get out of there. And so Rorik basically books it to the entrance of the next area, and the spider is just running right after him with his 8 legs, but he does manage to get there just in time before the spider crashes to the side. This entrance is going to be human-sized, I would imagine, and the Rorik just kind of just bumps into the wall and tries to, do that thing where he's looking inside and he's just trying to figure out a way to get to him, but Rorik is already inside. And where's the next area? Well, that's unknown. So we are going to have to roll to figure that out. And it's time for my favorite table of the entire experience, the exploration table. And so we're going to go ahead and roll our d20 to see exactly what it is that we're going into. That is a 6. That is going to be cramped chamber, which kind of makes sense because there's only room for Rorik and not the spider. So cramped chamber it is. So let's go ahead and roll a d4. That is a 1. We're only rolling once. Hopefully not a danger, please, because there's already danger back that way, and we don't want that. So we have a 3, which is an oddity. So let's take our d20 and see what the oddity is. Another 12. We've been getting lots of 12s on these types of rolls, and this is a mystical light. So some sort of a light is emanating in this chamber, and the spider can clearly see us, and it is just going to town on that wall and trying to get at us.
Look for the gap in the rock, as this may be your only refuge if you decide that the beast with hungering eyes is too great a threat for you to handle.
So we are actually going to do something a little bit different than my usual thing, and that's to not just go ahead to the next area because we have some sort of a respite here. So what I'm going to do, we're actually going to search this cramped chamber for anything that is useful. And so on page 10 of the solo rules, there's some things that we can do. When you carefully inspect an area for hidden doors, concealed mechanisms, or other secrets, roll spot hidden. Taking the time to search is risky. It requires a stretch, and any active threats advance. Resolve the spot hidden roll as follows. Dragon, we get to roll twice on the table on the right and choose one result. A success, we roll on the table to the right. Failure, you waste time and find nothing of interest. And a demon, you find nothing and are beset by a new danger, such as an ambushing foe or sprung trap. If you know the specific location of a hidden item, you don't need a spot hidden. If you know its nature, don't roll on the table. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a spot hidden roll and see what we can find. If anything, there might not be anything here at all. And our spot hidden is at 12, so let's roll our d20 and see what we get. A 17. So unfortunately, Rorik does not find anything here. But we do waste time, and so that is going to be a 5. That spider is just trying to get to us, but there's nothing there, so he's just waiting outside, not bumping its head against the wall any longer, which is pretty good. That's our unknown area. There's only one other way to go that isn't the way of the spider, and so he is going to progress further into this tunnel. And actually, the next area is the sulfurous tunnels.
Beware the blasts of superheated steam from molten pits below. I know not what dwells in the scalding fog, but ye shan't be alone.
So we're going into these sulfurous tunnels. Okay, so blasts of superheated steam coming from the floor. Ooh, boy, we better watch where we're stepping here. So, what kind of a challenge is this going to be? The first thing that comes to mind is some sort of an acrobatics check to see if we can navigate through. If we do not, then of course we're going to take damage, but it also specifies that there is something else here. We're not alone, so what can that be? Actually, I don't think we're really going to roll anything just quite yet to see if we're spotted. Instead, what we're going to do is to see if Rorik can successfully navigate through this, I don't know, maze of steam that's erupting from the ground. So that's going to be an acrobatics roll. There is no Bane to roll for this one because we're wearing just chainmail, so hopefully we can get an 8 or under. I don't know. That is a 2. Oh, just one away from a dragon. That would have been awesome. But oh well. I'm happy with that one. So the steam erupts from the ground and he just manages to dodge his way this way and that way. It's kind of like the Legend of Korra when she's going through that spinning thing. You know, she's got to like turn and dodge. Although I would imagine that Rorik is not so graceful and he's kind of just somehow stumbling his way around successfully. He manages to not get hit with any of the steam and he comes out on the other side of the passageway or the tunnels without getting scalded. And because he did not get hit, he does not yell, and most importantly, he does not attract whatever it is that is down here. For surely if he had taken a hit, he would have screamed out in pain, and whatever was down here lurking would have gotten to him. And so that's the story I'm going with, and I am sticking to it. What is the next area? Goblin in the Pit.
A bloody skirmish between orc and cultist leaves a goblin the sole survivor. They lie injured at the bottom of a great pit. Find them, earn their trust, and ask about the treasure hidden ahead.
So, Rorik comes across a great pit. That's, I don't know, it's just there. Has it been dug out? Is this some sort of like a gladiator arena? We don't quite know, but what we do see is that there are just bodies littered everywhere. It looks like there was some great battle here. Orcs, goblins, cultists. In fact, there is just one little voice that rises from the pit. He hears it. He looks down. He thinks he sees movement. It's just very small because it's rather dark down here. His curiosity kind of gets the better of it. It could be somebody that could be helpful. In fact, Ingolfer says that we should get their trust and see what we can find down here. So he slowly begins to climb downward. And then he gets to the bottom. He has to step over bodies very carefully. And he's listening. He still hears that movement. Something is moving against some sort of metal. Or maybe somebody with metal is moving around. He can't quite tell. But then eventually he hears the gurgle, and he looks down and he sees a helpless little goblin. He kneels down. He looks for any weapons that the goblin might take up, but he doesn't quite see anything yet. And so he is going to talk to this goblin, and well, I think the first thing that we need to do is determine what kind of reaction this goblin is going to have. And so this is an oracle question. Or actually, this is just going to be a fortune chart roll, so a d6 for what kind of a reaction the goblin has upon seeing Rorik over him. 5 is open. So this goblin is close to death, I would imagine, and well, the goblin knows that, and he is willing to take any kind of help. So he looks up at Rorik with those, I don't know, puppy dog eyes. He's like looking, pleading like a little child, please spare me, or something along those lines. And Rorik kneels down and, well, he's going to try to talk with the goblin. So the goblin is open, but he's not quite friendly. So I don't think we're going to get a boon on this check, but I do think that we don't get a bane either. So we are going to try to persuade the goblin into helping us out in this instance. We can help him out if he will help us out. So our persuasion is 7. That's not very good, mind you. It's 7, so we need to roll a 7 or under. What do we get? A 4. Oh, look at that. Rorik is the talker. And in fact, if I remember correctly, at the end of the last session, we did try to level up persuasion, and it did not work at all because Engulfer does not like to talk. And so we managed to kneel down next to the goblin and we speak some words. We can help him out if he will help us out. And so the goblin divulges his secrets. The goblin does tell us that there is something just up ahead. In fact, he points us to the exact location. And Rorik looks at the goblin. It would just be easier to end this poor little fool's life right here. Nobody's going to miss it. But then the goblin did help him out. So Rorik is actually going to do something that I don't think very many people would do. Or at least not very many people in this world would do, mind you. He's actually going to try to help the goblin out. He is going to perform a heal test on the goblin. Now our heal is only at 5, and so let's see if we can help this goblin out before he passes away or something along those lines. So 5 or under to heal the goblin. Ooh, so close, but not quite. And you know what? I'm actually almost thinking that we do not heal the goblin, but maybe we kinda stabilize him, possibly help him up. He's not going to be of any use to us, mind you. He's not going to be fighting with us. He's definitely not going to become friendly, but we are willing to pick him up and take him where he wants to go before he finally passes away. So Rorik is walking around the pit area, and he is listening to the goblin just cackle this way and that. Or I guess cackle's not a really good word. Cackle's like laughing, right? He's listening to the goblin just make gurgling noise and pointing this way and that. And finally, the goblin seems agitated. He's squirming around in his arms as the goblin points the little lone finger down towards the ground, and he sees the corpse of an orc that's very well dressed. He stops, and the goblin is still pointing, and he sees tears in the goblin's eyes, and so he kneels down beside the orc with the goblin in his arms, and the goblin wiggles his way out of his arms and lays down next to the orc. I think Rorik is going to stay with him to the very end. And I know that this doesn't really quite, like, we haven't really rolled anything in a negative way, but I think at this point we would have spent enough time that the threat meter is going to go down to 4. And so he stays with the goblin until the goblin doesn't move anymore. To pay his respects, he is going to give them a proper human burial. This might not be the tradition of the orcs and the goblins, but he is going to show them some respect in the only way that he knows how, and that is to bury them in this battlefield full of corpses. He's not going to do this just for all of them, but for these two, for the goblin who helped him out and his orc companion, this he will do. Alright, so I do have the treasures deck here, and since the goblin specifically told us where to find this hidden treasure, we're just going to draw one card from it. And the card that we have drawn is silver coins. D6 times 5 silver coins. Okay, so I mean, for a little goblin, I would imagine that is a great treasure, because goblins, they don't get paid all that much. They get paid in not spankings. So they didn't get spanked. That's their payment. So 1d6. So 3 times 5. We have 15 silver to add to our collection of 4, I believe. So we have 19 total. I'd imagine that Rorik would sigh at this point because it's silver, and that's not really a great treasure at all. But the goblin did help him out in this instance, and he did pay his respects, and so he can't really fume about it. He's just going to go about his way and get out of this pit and onto the next area. which is an unknown. So we do get to roll for it. So the very first thing, let's pop open the exploration table and roll our d20 to see exactly which area we are going into. That is, a demon of 20, so a yawning chasm. Hey, we've had this before. Unfortunately, since this isn't really a skill test, we don't get to count this as, upgrading one of our skills. But hey, that would be pretty sweet if we could. So how many times are we rolling on the location details? 3 times. All right, so roll number 1. What are we getting? We have a 2, which is an environment. We have a 1, which is a content, so environment, contents, and the last one is another one, so environment, content, contents. All right, so I can do with that. So we're gonna go ahead and roll once for the environment, which is a 4. Our environment is concealing mist. Ooh, that sounds very mysterious. And already this is giving me some flashbacks to when Rorik had to go through that petrified forest or whatever with the petrified dryads or something along those lines, and he was there forever and he got angry. Yeah, that's kind of giving me some flashbacks right there. So we're gonna go ahead and roll 2d20 for the 2 contents. So let's see what we get. 8 and 7. Okay, right, one after the other. So we have dusty tomes and flaming razors. Okay.
The mists in these parts conceal a great many secrets. Look for the light to guide your way, but tread carefully, for not all steps lead forward.
So I would imagine that Rorik is just walking. He sees this mist just in front of him. And as he's walking, he goes into the mist. And he sees like a little faint glow up ahead. It's the first brazier, and on the very far side, he sees another faint orange glow. As he's about to take another step, he freezes, and he looks down. He can't see his feet. Uh-oh. He slowly puts his foot down, down, down. There should be ground there, but there is not. His foot is hanging over the edge of the cliff, or the chasm. Oh, right. Couldn't be that easy. So he begins to look around, and I think this would be a spot hidden roll. Let's see. Are we searching for something? I kind of feel like this might be a search, because we always do spot hidden rolls, but we never really make something out of it. So I think that in this instance, we are going to search, okay? So we are going to perform a spot hidden. Are we wasting our time, or are we going to find something else? Even if we do fail, we are going to find the next waypoint. It's just we're wasting time on the threat. And so let's go ahead and take our D20. We are at a 12 for spot hidden. So let's see. Wow, we are rolling incredibly well today. This makes up for the previous 4 episodes where we kind of rolled junk. So no dragon yet, unfortunately, but I mean, still, we've been so close twice now. So he does find something. And what does he find? That's going to be a roll, a D10 roll, to see what it is that he actually does find. Now, fortunate thing is, 2 of these, a 1 or the 2, are quite bad. So that's already like a 1/5 of our chance there. That's a 20% chance that we're going to come up with something bad. But everything else is actually quite good. Well, I could do without the secret path, but everything else is quite good. So let's see what he's going to find. That is a 9. Ooh. Wait, what? Huh. Okay. So we find a hidden vault on a 9. So 2 treasure cards, and we have to roll again. I can actually do without the roll again, because that means there's another chance for us to get a concealed foe or a trap, and I don't want that. I wish it was 2 treasure cards and or roll again, but I guess we do have to roll again. First though, let's see. He manages to find some stairs leading down the side of this chasm, this cliff, and he is going to spot something on the wall just up ahead. It's not lit by a brazier or anything like that. And so he manages to find a vault door, and it actually opens. It's not locked or anything like that, so whoever built it must not have expected anybody to find this hidden area. And inside are these dusty tomes. Yes, we have dusty tomes that are just littered everywhere. So this must have been a great scholar who's built this, or dwells down here, or is resting here. It's a vault, so we don't really quite know. In fact, let's see. What thing are we having? So I think we're gonna go ahead and roll on the attribute table for the inspiration. We've not actually rolled on this table just yet. So how can we describe this area? That's a 13. So this is some sort of a lost vault. So perhaps everything is in pristine condition because it has just been lost over time. In fact, there might actually be a brazier next to the vault door, but it is unlit because of some reason. And so he steps inside and he looks around and he actually finds two things of note. First one is gold coins. Look at that. We got gold coins and gold coins again. Actually, this one's different. Okay. These two gold coin cards are actually different. One of them is a D6 roll, and the other one is a 2D6 roll. So we get 3D6 worth of gold coins here. So I've got my 3D6. Let's see how many gold coins Rorik is going to find. 6, 3, which makes 9, plus 2 is 11. We have 11 gold coins. Wow. We actually have quite a bit of money, and gold is actually something in this game. We're not going to be getting a whole lot of it, and we just got 11. So we have that going for him now. He is, I wouldn't say he's rich, but he's maybe middle class now. Off those treasure cards go, we are going to go ahead and roll again to see what he is going to find next. We have to roll again on the actual search table, so hope that it's not a 1 or a 2. That is a 5. This is a hidden antechamber. Roll for location details. Okay, so basically it's just a new waypoint, I suppose. So roll for location details. Okay, just the location details. We're only rolling for location details, so we don't roll for the area or anything like that. So how many times do we get to roll on the location details? Let's find out. We are rolling 4 times. Oh boy, so there's a chance that we might get a danger here. 2, environment. So some new area. 2, environment. Okay, kind of getting scared. 2 more rolls. 4, danger, danger, Will Robinson. So environment, danger, and oddity. So environment, danger, oddity, in that order. All right, so we do need to roll twice on the environment, and so we're gonna do that right off the bat. 2d20s for the environments. We have 10 and 5. So we have glass surfaces and corroded surfaces. Okay, so partially made of glass and then some corrosiveness. So it looks like there might have been a battle here, maybe a battle of spells. So this vault might have belonged to like a wizard scholar or something like that, or possibly just a wizard, yeah, with all the dusty tomes hanging about in the other vault chamber back there. And so we have to roll for the danger and then the oddity. Ooh, actually, how about this? Why don't we roll for, or no, we should probably do this in order. So the danger is a 6. Crumbling terrain, of course, because it's glass. Why wouldn't it be crumbling? And then the oddity is going to be a 12, another 12. Okay, so we have mystical light. This is really a rather interesting conundrum because we've come to this interesting area. We have a hidden vault and then a side room that has just what seems to be remnants of a battle, some sort of a magic battle. There's a glass surface and it looks like parts of it are beginning to crack and crumble, and then there's some corroded surfaces for the glass, so those areas are very thin. But it doesn't really seem like there's anything else in this room. But I guess I could ask a yes-no oracle question. Is there something of interest in this room? And of course, that something of interest would be a draw on the treasure card deck. So I think this is just going to be a very quick yes or no. Does Rorik see anything interesting in this room that he would want? An extreme yes, of course, there would be. Okay, Rorik, you have my undivided attention. What are we going to find? Well, that's the unfortunate thing now, isn't it? We have to navigate through here to find out what it's going to be. He's already gotten some pretty good stuff. He's got silver and gold thus far, but does he really need anything else? Rorik, what are you doing? This is going to straight up be an acrobatics roll, I would think, to navigate through the glass surface to get to the item that he sees. Since this is an extreme yes, this is going to be 2 draws on the treasure deck. If it was just a simple yes, it would be 1, but because it's the extreme yes, it's got to be something good. So let's see. We have an 8, no boon or bane on acrobatics, but there's a mystical light in the room that does kind of illuminate everything, so he is able to see where the corroded areas are. So I guess he would be able to successfully navigate past that. Would that be boon worthy though? That's the interesting question. Make a comment down below if you think that would be boon worthy. I'm definitely not rolling a boon for this, but we do need to get an 8 or under. So can we do it? That is a 6. We have been rolling incredibly well this session. So, Rorik manages to step carefully through the glass surface, closer and closer to this area, this centerpiece that he sees that catches his eye. What can it be? There's 2 things there. Hopefully it's not rats, because I know that there's a rat card inside of this deck. There's like 1, I think, and so I will be very PO'd if that happens to be what he sees. I want a rat pet. Please let me have a rat. Alright, so the first draw for Rorik. What does he find? More gold coins, of course. Rorik, actually this is a 46 roll for gold coins, and boots. Oh, clothing. My bad. Boots, cloak, or fur. That's a roll of D3. That's... okay. That's weird. So, I guess the first thing that we're going to do is roll the 46 to see what we are going to grab. And I am going to use the threat die. We're on a 4 for threat. So, how much gold does Rorik have now? Wow. 4, 8, 12, 13 new gold pieces. So he is at 24 gold pieces. He's actually got more gold than he has silver now, so he has that going for him. He's getting pretty rich there. The clothing, 1 and 2 will be boots, 3 and 4 will be cloak, and 5 and 6 will be fur. I guess, yeah, in the medieval times they would have worn fur to stay warm. So that's going to be a cloak of some sort, and we can iron out the details on that once this adventure is done. So we're just going to add that he's got a fur something. So far, this single waypoint has been the most bountiful, the most successful, anything that we've had in this entire Prelude campaign thus far. And so I think Rorik's greed has definitely driven him to become successful in this endeavor. It's time to get out and move on to the actual quest. So he's going to go back out, and he is going to continue his way to the other side of the chasm, or perhaps to the bottom of the chasm. Continues to follow the brazier. He goes across the chasm way, and he begins to climb the stairs going up the chasm, and we've wasted quite a bit of time. So because we have actually searched the area, even though it was successful, we still do count down the threat. So our threat is going down to 3. So not a dire position just yet, but Rorik is going to start to pick up the pace a little bit because he can start to hear some things off in the distance. It sounds like there's people talking, searching perhaps, and he can only guess that it's the cultists coming after him. And so he is picking up the pace, going up the stairs on the other side of the chasm, up that cliff face, and he finally gets to the other side of the brazier. And what do we find? Another unknown area. So it's time to roll on my favorite chart once again, the exploration tables. And so let's go ahead and roll our d20. The area we are going to is an 8. That is an expansive hall. We actually had this one, I believe, 2 episodes ago in episode 3. So we have an expansive hall. So how many times are we rolling the d4? We are rolling it 4 times again. Oh, and the last time we rolled 4, we had a danger. Oh boy, here we go. Our first roll is a 2. An environment. So we have environment. We have another environment. Can we just have all environments? That would be pretty sweet. Can we just have all environments? Because that would be pretty sweet. All right, our third roll on the location detail table is a 4, of course. Is it? Wait a minute. We've gotten environment, danger, or oddity last time. Are we going to get another oddity? Okay, so here we go. The last roll, please don't be danger. It is contents. Environment, danger, contents. Almost a very exact roll from the previous one. So we're going to go ahead and start with our 2d20s for the environment roll. What do we get? A 4 and a 10. Very close to what we had previously. So we have had Concealing Mist in this session. That was one of the first environments. That was the thing that we saw in the Yawning Chasm. So perhaps this mist has followed us to this point. What else? We have the danger coming up. So what kind of a danger are we talking about? It's a dragon. Acid pools with glassy surface. Okay. Oh, and I don't like the looks of this because we also have that Concealing Mist as well. Oh, no. All right, what is the contents? A 13. Mummified corpses. I don't think I would really consider that to be a contents. I would consider that to be a danger. But of course, we could explain it in a way like the corpses are in these vats of acid that are kind of either making them mummified or preserving them some. No, if it's acid, then it would be corroding. So yeah, I guess it's some sort of a ritual to expedite the process of mummification. I don't really know. Maybe it's a Lazarus pit and they're just all gonna come. Okay, let's not give the GM, in example me, any more ideas. So
beware. The cultists have concocted a ritual in these parts by submerging the recently departed into vats of acid. Tread carefully, but quickly, lest you disturb their mummified remains.
There's got to be some sort of a navigation role here, and it's definitely not going to be bushcraft, because bushcraft is things in nature, I would imagine, and this isn't really nature. This is just kind of making sure that we don't step inside of. Well, I guess this could be spot hidden because it is concealed mist, right? So we would have to spot the hidden areas where the acid bowls are going to be. Like, I'm imagining that there's just these. It's a glassy surface, but there are these niches or like pits that are carved into the ground where these bodies are just being mummified by this acid. So a spot hidden. Of course, this will be at a disadvantage because of the Concealing Mist. We're going to roll our d20 and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully he can step over that. Whew, thank you so much. We got an 8 and a 2. Awesome. So he does manage to check his feet to make sure that he's not stepping into anything that is going to, well, turn his foot into a mummified foot. That'd be really interesting. Living the rest of your life with a single foot that has been mummified, but the other one is like healthy. It is like one of those before and after type videos. Like, yeah, you put lotion on this foot. This is what your foot's gonna look like. Don't put lotion on this foot. and this is what it's gonna look like. And then you like see the picture of the mummified foot. So yeah, that's gonna be Rorik's life, the life of a foot model there. Not today, because he successfully managed to navigate through this glassy pit acid pool area. Now it's finally time. We are going to the molten wastes.
Veins of magma gather, pooling in pits and undermining your path. It is here that orcs and goblins guard their outposts, striking out in search of some artifact for Maleduc. The orc smith Gorum dwells here, and by his hand shall the Worldbreaker be remade, though I expect he'll not do it for free.
So it is here that we find Gorum. And as soon as Rorik steps through the threshold, he is just met with heat that just gets under his armor and threatens to sear his skin from all the metal that he's got. But it's not that hot. It is going to be very hot, but not quite to that point yet. And in fact, there's molten all around. And there are orcs here. So I would imagine that the orcs have built some constructs, some sort of a feature that's going to get them across the molten lava and further in where Gorum is. And well, let's see what kind of features there are going to be. Okay, so the orcs have gotten through this area somehow, but how exactly? My good buddy ChatGPT is going to solve all of our problems. And so we have a series of 6 different options. So I will be rolling a d6 to see just how the orcs have been getting around. But here are the options, because these are fun ones. We have a bridge network. Obvious, but a little bit too obvious. Let's see what else. Subterranean tunnels. I'm not quite so sure, but perhaps they managed to have some sort of a system that kind of goes through and around. Lava-proof vehicles. The orc way, of course. Flying creatures. So maybe large pterodactyls. Possibility. Hey, everybody loves dinosaurs. Magical portals, of course. That's always an option. And then fireproof pathways. So I'll read the description if we should choose it. So we're going to roll a d6 and see what we managed to come up with. So let's see what we get. A 3. That is going to be lava-proof vehicles. So Rorik sees these big mechanisms that are being driven by orcs, kind of like boats that kind of go through the lava, but then once they come to the surface or the shore, he sees that there are these giant metallic type wheels with spikes that are just kind of grinding into the ground and just making it so that they can keep on going. So it's like part boat, but part car in our terms. And there's like smog coming through from some sort of a pipe. So he doesn't know exactly how this contraption works, but he does see it work. And he kind of begins to see the ingenuity of these orcs. But of course, that's not why he's here. He is here to see Gorum. He's going to dwell in here somewhere. And I think that Gorum is going to spot him. We have already rescued Gorum. And I think this makes him a friendly accomplice, because we did go out of our way to rescue him from some cultists. He's definitely not going to be hostile. I don't think he's going to be wary. If anything, he would be open, but I think we've also proven ourselves to him. And of course, bringing him back to Ingolfer, and then Ingolfer letting him go after he's told his tale about where to find the cultists, I think that would make Gorum friendly for us. It is by Gorum's hands that the Worldbreaker will be made whole again, but there's probably going to be a price. Let's see. Is there going to be a price? We're going to roll persuasion, because we have everything that Gorum needs. We have the shard, we have the soul tree sap, and we've already proven ourselves to Gorum. So I do think that this would require a roll with a boon. And so our persuasion is 7. We're rolling 2d20s and we're taking the best result. So let's see, what are we gonna get? 18 and a 3. We successfully managed to persuade Gorum to reforge the Worldbreaker. There is going to be a price. How much is the Worldbreaker worth? How much is he going to take off? Or how much is he going to expect? So for this one, I can foresee us rolling on 2, either number or scale. Kind of going to lean more on the side of the number fortune chart roll because it's got none or 1, few, several, numerous. So how much gold? See, all the gold that he's collected is actually going to come in handy. How much gold is Gorm going to expect here? None or 1. Because we have successfully saved Gorm from being a sacrifice to whatever deity or demon that the cultists were worshipping down in that cave system, he's only going to expect 1 gold. And Rorik will happily give it to him. So we are down to 23 gold, but hey, he's still in the upper middle class, I would imagine. Probably not. He's probably in the lower middle class. But still, he can have high hopes. Maybe one day he'll buy himself an inn or a tavern, and he'll clean it up real good, and he'll retire. And then quickly realize that he has no idea how to manage finances or a business. Anyways, that's a story for another day. Probably for an epilogue. And so, Rorik will give Gorm all of the components to reforge the Worldbreaker, and then something happens. So let's set the scene and see what it is. Rorik stared into the fire as the orc worked and shaped the metal. Each clang of his hammer brought forth a distant memory and something more, only for it to fade just like an echo. He recalled his childhood with his sister and how they would often play out in the fields. When they were too tired to run anymore, they would lay among the flowers and he would tell her one of Dad's stories, or as best as he could remember them. He added all sorts of embellishments to make the heroes grander and the dastardly villains evil, but still weaker than the heroes. The hammer struck and he saw the scene of when the mages came to take Jaina away, how he ran forth to take her hand and lead her to the fields where they used to play and they could hide there until the mages gave up their search. Something prevented him from moving forward, and he vaguely remembered strong hands upon his shoulders to keep him still. Most importantly, he remembered the look in Jaina's eyes as she turned to look back at him one last time. It told him to be still, to not interfere. This was her destiny. The hammer struck, and he saw his early years as an adult and how he signed on with the military with the hope that someday he might be stationed at one of the mage's towers as a guard so that he might one day see his sister again. Instead, there was only war and battle to follow him. The hammer struck, and he saw the endless days of wandering the lands, taking any jobs that had need for a strong hand just so he could continue. In time, the memory of Jaina began to fade, and there was only the wanderlust to guide him towards some hidden future. The hammer struck, and he saw something else. He saw robed figures surrounding a young woman. Their hands were outstretched, and the words they uttered were forbidden and dark. Something in the darkness wanted her. It hungered for her power as a street urchin hungers for even just a little bit of scrap. Her screams echoed through the corridors of the tower, adorned with silver and gold. The hammer struck, and Rorik woke up to a ringing head. It was bright outside, and for a while it blinded him. He was holding onto something against his chest. As his vision cleared, he looked down, and yet, before he even saw it, he knew that it was the Worldbreaker made whole again. He looked around and saw no sign of the chapel or of Ingolfer. Such things began to fade fast from his mind, as his attention soon turned elsewhere, to the one person who truly mattered in all of this, Jaina. He had to rescue his sister. And so there you have it, my friends. This concludes my prologue for the Dragonbane campaign. But our session is not quite over yet, because you see, we have successfully completed this session, so we get to level up some skills, possibly. So I've already gone ahead and marked my 5 skills: swords, spot hidden, sneak, bushcraft, and acrobatics, because we've actually used acrobatics quite a bit, so I would imagine that could possibly get better. So we're going to go right down the list in alphabetical order. Starting with acrobats, we need an 8 or higher. We have oh great. We've been rolling solo this entire session, and now all of our level up rolls are going to be so low that we're not going to level anything up. Is that what you're telling me? Oh no. So acrobatics is going to stay at 8. But surely not bushcraft. Bushcraft is at 7. That's a 19, so yes, we do level up bushcraft. But what about sneaking though? We need a 9 or higher. 15. So sneaking goes up to 10. But really though, spot hidden, that's where it's at. We need a 12 or higher. That's gonna be a no, dog. Spot hidden is going to stay at a 12. And then last but not least, the one that really matters, we need our sword skill to go higher. 13 or higher to upgrade swords. That is a 19. We did it! We finally got swords to 14. And with that, the finale for Dragonbane Alone in Deepfall Breach is concluded. Thank you, my friends, for listening or watching, wherever it is that you happen to be doing so from. And if you like this series and you want to see more, check back every other Thursday for a new episode of Table for One. We're going to be continuing with Dragonbane and my full campaign. I hope that you're just as excited as I am to actually get to play something that isn't just a straightforward waypoint crawl, but something that's a little bit more open-ended, kind of something that I've envisioned since I've wanted to start this series. If you did like this series, then please feel free to give this a high rating, whether it's a thumbs up on YouTube or wherever it is that you happen to be listening from. And one last thing, if you do like this content, feel free to comment if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever it is, because I do take suggestions to heart and I always want to improve the content on my channel. And so, if you like it, feel free to comment. If there's something that you think that would serve this series a little bit better, then feel free to comment your suggestions. And if you don't feel comfortable commenting in YouTube or wherever, feel free to email me at nightsaberz42@gmail.com. My name is Alex, and I am proud to say that I will see you guys in the next episode, episode 6 of Dragonbane, where we will actually play for real. I hope to see you then in a couple weeks, but until then, may the dice forever be in your favor.
Looks like my part in this story is done. Don't know what I'm going to do with all this free time. Maybe I'll binge watch something on Netflix. Check back every other Thursday for a new episode of Table for One, a solo role-playing podcast. If you would like to support this podcast, please rate it or give it a thumbs up wherever you happen to be listening from. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, subscribe and be sure to leave a comment. Music was provided by Tabletop Audio and AI Voice Work by 11 Labs.